My lungs burn as I sprint across the slick concrete of the marina, the storm turning everything into a blur of darkness and water. The wind tears at my cheap polyester uniform, still stained with marinara sauce from the dinner shift I abandoned 20 minutes ago. Salt spray mixes with rainwater on my face, and I can taste copper in my mouth from pushing too hard, too fast. I shouldn't be here. Every rational part of my brain screams that this is suicide. But Ethan's voice on the phone keeps replaying in my head. The terror. The way he choked on the words, "They're making me plant a bomb," before someone ripped the phone away. My little brother, 20 years old and drowning in gambling debts he'll never escape. The private docks stretch before me like a fortress. Security lights cut through sheets of diagonal rain, illuminating a convoy of black vehicles arranged in perfect formation. Men in dark suits move with military precision, their umbrellas creating a canopy over a single figure walking toward the largest yacht I've ever seen, the Sovereign. White and chrome, 3 stories of obscene wealth floating in the churning water. And Anthony Bellini is about to board it. I've never seen him in person before tonight. Only grainy photos Ethan showed me once, hands shaking, explaining who owned his debt now. The photos didn't capture this. The way people instinctively create space around him. The controlled economy of movement that speaks of absolute confidence. He's tall, broad-shouldered beneath an impeccably tailored charcoal suit that somehow remains crisp despite the weather. Dark hair swept back from a face that could belong to a Renaissance sculpture. Sharp cheekbones, strong jaw, and eyes so dark they look black from this distance. No scars, no visible weapons. He doesn't need them. Everything about him radiates cold, lethal control. I watch as he reaches the gangway, one polished shoe touching the metal ramp. Lightning splits the sky, illuminating the yacht's name in gold lettering. Now or never. I break into a dead run, cutting across the security perimeter. A guard turns, surprise registering on his face a split second too late. I use momentum and desperation, slamming my shoulder into his center mass. He's bigger, stronger, but I catch him off balance. He stumbles, and I'm past him. "Stop her!" someone shouts, but I'm already at the gangway. "Don't board!" My voice tears from my throat, raw and desperate. "Mr. Bellini! The engine! There's a bomb in the engine!" 3 things happen simultaneously. Anthony Bellini stops moving, his foot suspended above the yacht's deck. 4 guns appear, all pointed at my chest, and Anthony's hand rises in a small, precise gesture that freezes everyone in place. He turns to face me fully, and the impact of his attention is physical. Those dark eyes sweep over me in one clinical assessment. Soaked uniform, bare feet bleeding from the sprint across gravel, hair plastered to my skull. I'm gasping for air, hands raised to show I'm unarmed, and I know exactly how I look. Like a crazy person. Like someone who should be sedated and removed. But I hold his gaze, because looking away feels like death. Explain. 1 word. Quiet, almost conversational, but it cuts through the storm like a blade. My throat closes. I force words out. My brother, Ethan Evans. The O'Sullivans have him. They made him. They forced him to install an explosive device connected to the yacht's ignition system. When you start the engine, it'll detonate. I don't know exactly where it is, but I know it's there. Please, you have to check. Silence. He studies me with the same intensity someone might examine a chessboard 3 moves from checkmate. Your brother planted a bomb to kill me, and you're warning me about it. He tilts his head fractionally. Interesting choice. He didn't want to. The words tumble out faster now. They'll kill him if he doesn't. But they'll kill him anyway once it's done. I know they will. He called me. I barely understood, but I heard enough. The ignition system. Something about the fuel line. I don't know bombs. I just know he's terrified. And I can't let anyone die because of him. Anthony doesn't move for a long moment. Water streams off his shoulders, but he seems utterly unconcerned with the storm. Then he turns to the man on his left, someone built like a concrete wall with gray hair and eyes that have seen too much. "Marco, check it. Every system. Now." Marco nods once and snaps his fingers. 3 men in tactical gear appear from one of the vehicles, moving toward the yacht with practiced efficiency. One of them has a metal detector. Another carries what looks like a portable X-ray machine. Anthony returns his attention to me, and I realize with creeping horror that he hasn't dismissed the guns. They're still trained on me, fingers resting just outside trigger guards. "What's your name?" "Kayla. Kayla Evans." "Kayla Evans." He says it slowly, tasting each syllable. "Where do you work?" The question throws me. "What?" "The uniform. It's from Marino's. The Italian place on 5th. I know the owner." His gaze drops to the name tag still pinned crookedly to my chest. "You're a server." "Waitress. Yes. I was working the dinner rush when Ethan called. And you left your shift to run here. Through a storm. To warn a man you've never met." He steps closer, and I force myself not to retreat. "Why?" "Because it's murder." My voice steadies. "Whatever my brother did, whatever debts he owes, I won't let him become a killer. And you don't deserve to die for someone else's cowardice." Something flickers in those dark eyes. Not warmth exactly. Recognition, maybe. Noble. He stops 2 feet away, close enough that I can smell his cologne beneath the rain. Cedar and something darker. Expensive. Also incredibly stupid. The O'Sullivans will kill you both when they find out you betrayed them. They're going to kill us anyway. I meet his stare, even though my knees are shaking. At least this way I can sleep at night. Assuming you live to see night again. Before I can respond, Marco reappears on the gangway, his expression grim. He's carrying something small and metallic, wires dangling from it like electronic intestines. Found it. C4, professionally installed, rigged to the starter motor exactly like she said. Another 30 seconds and... He doesn't finish. Doesn't need to. Anthony's jaw tightens infinitesimally, the only sign of emotion I've seen. When he speaks, his voice is colder than the wind cutting across the marina. "Where is your brother now?" "I don't know. They took him somewhere after he made the call. He didn't say where. He couldn't. They were listening. What vehicle does he drive? He doesn't have a car. He takes the bus. Or he did before." I trail off. "Before he owed Declan O'Sullivan money he can't pay." Anthony finishes. He pulls out a phone, sleek and black, and touches the screen without looking at it. "Get me a location on Ethan Evans. 20 years old, last known address Queens. Cross-reference with known O'Sullivan properties." He ends the call and returns the phone to his pocket in one smooth motion. The efficiency is terrifying. "Mr. Bellini, please, whatever happens to me, Ethan didn't mean..." "Be quiet. It's not harsh. Just absolute." I close my mouth. "You saved my life tonight, Kayla Evans. Whether you meant to or not, whether it was for your brother's soul or your own conscience, you saved my life. That creates a debt. I don't want money." "I know. That's why you interest me." He studies me again, and this time there's calculation behind the assessment. "The O'Sullivans will come for both of you. Tonight, tomorrow, next week. They'll find you, and they'll make examples. Public ones." Ice crystallizes in my stomach. "I know. Then you understand your options are limited." He gestures, and suddenly there are hands on my arms. Not painful, but unmovable. "Marco, take her to the car. Keep her secure but comfortable. And find the brother. Bring him to the estate." Panic flares. "Wait, what are you..." "Saving your life. Again." Anthony turns away, dismissing me. "You gave me information I needed. Now I'll give you something you need. Protection. At least until we resolve this situation with Declan." "I don't understand." He pauses at the gangway, looking back over his shoulder. The yacht rocks gently behind him, a monument to wealth and power that almost became his tomb. When he speaks, there's something almost amused in his tone. "You will. Marco, make sure she doesn't do anything else heroically stupid tonight. I have a phone call to make." Then he's moving again, striding toward the lead vehicle instead of the yacht. The men around him shift formation automatically, creating a protective barrier. I'm guided, not dragged, toward a different car. The leather interior is warm, dry, Someone hands me a towel. Through the tinted window, I watch Anthony Bellini make a call, his expression carved from stone. Whatever he's saying, whoever he's speaking to, it's a conversation that will change everything. And I realize with crystallizing certainty that I've just traded one type of danger for another. The O'Sullivans wanted us dead. Anthony Bellini wants us alive. I'm not sure which is more frightening. The elevator doesn't feel like it's moving, but the numbers climb steadily. 32 floors in complete silence except for the faint hum of machinery. Marco stands beside me, expressionless, while another guard I haven't been introduced to occupies the opposite corner. Nobody speaks. Nobody looks at me directly. I'm still wearing the damp uniform, though someone draped a wool coat over my shoulders during the car ride. Cashmere, probably. It smells like the same cedar cologne Anthony wears. My feet are wrapped in gauze and tucked into slippers 3 sizes too large. A medic cleaned and bandaged them in the back of the vehicle while we drove through the city, his hands efficient and impersonal. Ethan is alive. They found him in a basement storage unit near the docks, zip-tied to a metal chair with a hood over his head. Marco told me this in clipped sentences, offering no details about his condition. Just secured and en route. The elevator opens onto a space that steals what little breath I have left. Floor-to-ceiling windows wrap around 3 walls, revealing the city sprawled below like a carpet of lights. The storm has passed, leaving only wisps of clouds trailing across the moon. The office itself is all dark wood and leather, modern but substantial. A desk that looks carved from a single piece of mahogany dominates one end. Bookshelves line the interior wall, filled with volumes that appear actually read rather than decorative. Anthony Bellini stands at the window, hands clasped behind his back, still wearing the suit from the marina. He must have changed somewhere because there's no trace of rain on the fabric. His reflection in the glass watches us enter. Sit. He doesn't turn around. Marco guides me to one of 2 leather chairs facing the desk. I sink into it, my body finally registering exhaustion now that the adrenaline is fading. My hands won't stop shaking, so I tuck them under my thighs. Would you like something to drink? Anthony's voice is measured, almost polite. Water. Please. Marco moves to a sidebar and returns with a crystal glass filled with ice water. I accept it with both hands and drain half in one pull. The cold grounds me, sharp and real. Anthony finally turns from the window, moving to the bar himself. He pours 2 fingers of amber liquid into a tumbler. Neat. And then leans against the desk rather than sitting behind it. The casual posture somehow makes him more intimidating. Not less. Like a predator confident enough to relax before the kill. Tell me about your brother. It's not a request. I set the glass on the small table beside my chair, careful not to leave a ring. Ethan, 20 years old. He's studying, or he was studying, computer science at community college. Smart kid. Too smart for his own good sometimes. Smart people don't rack up $30,000 in gambling debts before they're old enough to legally drink. The number hits like a fist. 30,000. I knew it was bad, but hearing the actual figure makes the room tilt. He didn't tell me how much. He didn't tell you a lot of things, I imagine. Anthony takes a slow sip of his drink. The O'Sullivans run a poker room in the basement of a restaurant in Queens. High stakes, no limits, and they extend credit to anyone stupid enough to ask. Your brother asked, repeatedly. He's not a bad person. My voice sounds defensive even to my own ears. I didn't say he was. I said he was stupid. There's a difference. Anthony's dark eyes fix on me with unnerving focus. But you're not stupid, are you, Kayla Evans? You knew exactly what you were risking tonight. You understood that warning me meant signing your own death warrant, and you did it anyway. I couldn't let him murder someone. The words come out flat. I couldn't live with that. Why not? The question is genuine curiosity. People die every day. Most of them for reasons far less compelling than debt collection. What makes one stranger's life worth sacrificing your own? I don't have a good answer. Or rather, I have an answer that sounds naive when spoken aloud. Because someone has to draw a line somewhere. My mother used to say that choosing to do nothing is still a choice. I chose to do something. Your mother. He sets down his drink with deliberate care. She died when you were 17. Cancer. You dropped out of your senior year to care for her, then went back and finished a year late. No college. You've been working service jobs ever since, supporting both yourself and partially supporting Ethan through school. The clinical recitation of my life makes my skin crawl. You had me investigated, already. I had you investigated before Marco finished checking the yacht. I know what you ate for breakfast 3 days ago. I know you're 2 months behind on rent. I know you walked out of a shift tonight without telling your manager, which means you're probably fired. He picks up his drink again, swirling the liquid. I know everything I need to know about you. The question is whether you're smart enough to understand what that means. It means you're dangerous. My pulse hammers in my throat, but I force myself to maintain eye contact. It means you have resources and reach that I can't comprehend. And it means you're deciding right now what to do with 2 people who've complicated your life. Close. The corner of his mouth lifts a fraction. I've already decided what to do with you. I'm waiting for your brother to arrive so I can decide what to do with him. Before I can respond, the elevator chimes. The doors open, and 2 men enter, half dragging a third between them. Ethan's face is swollen on one side, dried blood crusting under his nose. His hands are zip-tied in front of him, and he's shaking so violently he can barely walk. Ethan! I lurch out of the chair, but Marco's hand on my shoulder stops me. Kayla? Ethan's voice cracks. His eyes find mine, wide and terrified. Oh God, Kayla, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know what else to do. Quiet. Anthony doesn't raise his voice, but the command slices through Ethan's babbling. The men dump my brother into the second chair. Ethan curls forward, hunching like he's trying to make himself smaller. Anthony approaches slowly, studying Ethan with the same clinical detachment he used on me. Ethan Evans, 20 years old. Computer science major with a gambling problem and no survival instinct. He circles the chair. You took money from Declan O'Sullivan. $30,000 over 6 months. You lost it playing poker with men who've been playing since before you were born. And when Declan called in the debt, you agreed to commit murder rather than face the consequences. They said they'd kill me. Ethan's voice is barely audible. They showed me pictures of what they do to people who don't pay. I saw what they did to this guy. His fingers were, I don't care what they showed you. Anthony's tone doesn't change, but ice crystallizes in each word. You put a bomb on my yacht. My yacht. Do you understand how spectacularly foolish that was? Ethan stares at his bound hands, tears streaming down his face. Anthony returns to the desk, picking up his drink. Your sister saved both our lives tonight. She sacrificed her safety, her job, possibly her future, to warn me about what you'd done. That kind of loyalty is rare. Admirable, even. He takes another sip. So I'm going to give you both a chance to survive this. But first, I need to make a phone call. He pulls out his phone, taps the screen, and activates the speaker. The ringtone fills the office, each pulse amplifying the tension. A rough voice answers on the third ring. Who's this? Declan. It's Anthony Bellini. We need to talk. Silence. Then a laugh, sharp and humorless. Bellini. Heard you had some excitement at the marina tonight. Shame about your yacht. Hope you weren't planning any trips. Anthony's expression doesn't change. The yacht is fine. The bomb was found and disarmed. Your asset failed. The silence stretches longer this time. When Declan speaks again, the amusement is gone. I don't know what you're talking about. Of course you don't. Just like you don't know Ethan Evans. And you didn't threaten to kill him unless he planted explosives on my property. Anthony's voice remains conversational, almost friendly. But since we're pretending, let me explain something. The Evans siblings are under my protection now. Their debt to you has been purchased by me, along with any claims you might have on their lives or services. You can't just, I already did. The money will be transferred to your account within the hour. $30,000, plus interest at your usual rate. Consider it a business transaction. He pauses, letting the words sink in. But understand this, Declan. If you or anyone associated with you approaches either Kayla or Ethan Evans, if you so much as look in their direction, I will consider it a declaration of war against my family. And we both know how that ends. You're starting a war over 2 nobodies? Declan's voice rises. Over some punk kid and his waitress sister? I'm preventing a war by establishing clear boundaries. The Evanses belong to me now. Touching them means touching me. I trust I'm being clear. Another pause. I can hear breathing on the other end, harsh and angry. Finally, Crystal. Excellent. Enjoy your evening, Declan. Anthony ends the call and pockets the phone in one smooth motion. He finishes his drink, sets the empty glass on the desk, and turns his full attention to me and Ethan. Here's how this works. You both live on my property. You both work for me. Kayla, you'll manage household operations. Ethan, you'll assist my security team with technical systems. You'll have rooms, meals, everything you need. But you don't leave without permission. You don't contact anyone from your old lives. You exist within my protection until I decide the threat has passed. How long? My voice sounds steadier than I feel. Until I'm satisfied that your debt has been paid. Not the money, understand. Loyalty, trust, proof that saving my life tonight wasn't a calculated move to gain favor, but genuine character. He crosses his arms. Refuse, and you're both free to walk out that door. I'll have Marco drive you anywhere in the city. Of course, Declan will know within an hour, and you'll be dead by morning. But the choice is yours. Ethan looks at me desperate. I can see the question in his eyes. The plea for me to fix this like I've fixed everything else in his life. But this time, there's no fixing. Only surviving. We accept. The words come out firm. Final. Anthony nods once. Marco, show them to their rooms. Make sure they have everything they need. As Marco cuts Ethan's zip ties and helps him stand, Anthony catches my arm. His grip is light but unmovable. When I meet his eyes, there's something unreadable in them. Your brother made a mistake that should have cost him his life. You made a choice that earned you mine. Don't confuse the two. Then he releases me, and I follow Marco toward the elevator, Ethan stumbling beside me. As the doors close, I catch one last glimpse of Anthony Bellini standing alone in his office, silhouetted against the city lights. We're not prisoners exactly, but we're not free either. We're something else entirely, something I don't have a name for yet. 7 days in the Bellini mansion, and I've learned that luxury doesn't mean peace. It means thicker walls to contain the violence, better locks to keep threats outside, and surveillance cameras disguised as decorative molding. The room they gave me is larger than my entire queen's apartment. King-sized bed with sheets that feel like water, a private bathroom with heated marble floors, and a walk-in closet someone filled with clothes in my exact size. Jeans, blouses, practical shoes. Nothing extravagant, but everything fits perfectly. I don't want to think about how they got my measurements. Ethan's room is down the hall. I've seen him twice. Once at breakfast the second day, where he couldn't meet my eyes and pushed eggs around his plate until Marco appeared and took him away. The second time was yesterday evening, when I heard him laughing from somewhere in the depths of the house. Actually laughing. The sound was so unexpected I followed it to the garage, where I found him elbow-deep in the engine of a vintage Alfa Romeo, while a man I later learned was Vincent, head of security, explained torque ratios. My brother looked focused, engaged, less like someone awaiting execution and more like someone learning a trade. I left before he noticed me watching. The mansion operates on schedules I'm still decoding. Staff arrive at 6 in the morning, a cook, 2 housekeepers, a groundskeeper, someone whose job seems to be exclusively maintaining the indoor plants. They work in efficient silence, completing tasks and departing by early afternoon. Anthony himself is a ghost. I've heard him twice, voice carrying from behind closed doors, speaking in rapid Italian that my high school classes can't parse. But I haven't seen him since that first night in his office, which is why I'm surprised when I realize the household management is chaos. It starts when I wake early on the 4th morning and wander downstairs looking for coffee. The kitchen is restaurant grade, all stainless steel and commercial appliances, but the pantry is a disaster. Canned goods mixed with dry goods, no organization by type or date. I find 3 opened bags of flour, 2 of them growing weevils. The refrigerator is worse. Expired milk, produce rotting in the drawers, takeout containers dating back weeks. The cook, an older Italian woman named Rosa, arrives to find me wrist deep in the cleanup, Garbage bags piled around me. Signorina, no, you don't need to. She rushes forward, distressed. When did you last do inventory? I ask, not unkindly. Her face flushes. I cook what Mr. Bellini requests. The ordering, the stocking, that's not my responsibility. Whose responsibility is it? She spreads her hands, helpless. It was Maria's job, but she left 3 months ago. No one replaced her. 3 months of accumulating disorder. I think of Anthony Bellini's pristine office, the perfect tailoring of his suits, the precision in his movements. This chaos would drive him insane if he knew about it. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe the household staff is invisible to him, a machine that's supposed to run itself. I'll handle it, I tell Rosa. By noon, I've cataloged every item in the kitchen, created a master inventory list, and identified what needs ordering. By evening, I've done the same for the household supplies, cleaning products, linens, toiletries. The housekeepers watch me with wary confusion, unsure if I'm overstepping or helping. I don't ask permission. I just do the work. The pattern continues. I discover the staff schedules overlap inefficiently, leaving gaps where no one's available, and redundancies where 3 people are doing one person's job. I create a new rotation, posting it on the back of the pantry door. I find receipts for vendors overcharging by 30% and research alternatives. I establish protocols for supply orders, maintenance requests, and emergency contacts. The house begins functioning like the restaurant I used to work at during the Sunday brunch rush. Organized chaos transformed into synchronized efficiency. On the 7th day, I'm in the library cross-referencing vendor invoices against delivery logs. When I feel the change in air pressure, that means I'm no longer alone. Anthony Bellini stands in the doorway, suit jacket off, shirt sleeves rolled to his elbows. It's the most casual I've seen him, and somehow the absence of armor makes him more intimidating. His forearms are corded with muscle, and there's a thin white scar running along his left wrist that I didn't notice before. You've been busy. His voice cuts through the silence. I set down my pen carefully, turning in the leather chair to face him. The house was falling apart. I'm aware. He moves into the room, scanning the spreadsheets I've laid across the massive oak table. I've been meaning to hire a house manager for months. Haven't had time to vet candidates properly. You don't need a candidate, you need a system. I gesture at the documents. Your vendors were robbing you blind. Your staff schedules were a mess. And your pantry hadn't been inventoried since last spring. He picks up one of the spreadsheets, dark eyes scanning the columns. Something shifts in his expression. Not surprise exactly. Recognition. You did all this in a week. I did this in 3 days. The rest of the time I've been refining it. I stand, moving to the table to point at specific entries. You were paying 32% over market rate for produce. I found 3 suppliers willing to beat that by 15% with better quality. Your housekeeping service was charging for 5 hours daily, but only working 3. I renegotiated to hourly instead of flat rate. And your security system monitoring subscription was auto-renewing at the promotional rate that expired 2 years ago. Anthony sets down the spreadsheet, studying me instead of the numbers. You could have stayed in your room, read books, watched television, pretended to be a guest. I don't know how to be a guest. The words come out sharper than intended. I know how to work, so I worked. Managing a household isn't payment for protection, Kayla. No, it's proof that I'm useful. That keeping me here is an investment, not charity. I meet his gaze directly. You said the debt would be paid through loyalty and trust. I'm paying it the only way I know how. For a long moment, neither of us speaks. The library feels smaller suddenly. The air charged with something I can't name. Anthony's jaw tightens fractionally, and I watch the muscle jump beneath the skin. Tomorrow you'll meet with my accountant, he says finally. Show him what you've found. He'll implement the changes with proper authority. It's acknowledgement. Approval, even. I nod once. The sound of shattering glass explodes from the front of the house. Anthony moves before the echo fades, his entire body shifting from relaxed to lethal in the span of a heartbeat. He's through the library door and down the hall before I process what happened. I follow, instinct overriding caution. The main foyer is pristine except for the window. One of the tall leaded glass panels that frame the entrance is destroyed, fragments scattered across marble tile. In the center of the destruction sits a brick, gray and unremarkable except for the paper wrapped around it and secured with twine. Marco appears from nowhere, gun drawn, barking orders into a radio. 2 other security personnel materialize, sweeping the perimeter. Anthony stands perfectly still, staring at the brick with an expression I recognize from the marina. Cold, calculating fury. He crouches, picking up the brick with careful hands. The paper unrolls as he removes the twine. Even from 10 feet away, I can read the message scrawled in black marker. Bought the debt, not the grudge. Watch your back, Bellini. Sweep the grounds, Anthony says quietly. Check all cameras for the past hour. Find who did this. Marco holsters his weapon. They're sending a message, testing boundaries. They violated my home. Each word is precisely enunciated, devoid of inflection. That's not a test. That's a declaration. His eyes find mine across the foyer, and something in his expression makes my stomach drop. Not fear directed at me. Fear for me. Take her to the safe room, he tells Marco. I don't need... now. The word is absolute. Final. Marco's hand on my elbow is gentle but unyielding. He guides me toward a section of wall that slides open to reveal a reinforced door with a biometric lock. The room beyond is windowless, furnished with monitors showing every angle of the property. Wait here, Marco says. Don't open this door for anyone except Mr. Bellini or myself. Understood? I nod numbly. The door seals with a hydraulic hiss, and I'm alone with the screens and my racing thoughts. The O'Sullivans aren't backing down. They took Anthony's money but kept the threat. And now they've proven they can reach past his defenses, get close enough to damage property. Close enough to hurt the people inside. Close enough to hurt me. I watch the monitors as security fans across the grounds, methodical and professional. I watch Anthony in the foyer, still holding the brick, his jaw set in a way that promises retribution. I watch Ethan being escorted from the garage to another secure location, his face pale but composed. We thought accepting Anthony's protection meant safety. But all it did was paint targets on our backs in a war we don't understand and can't fight. 20 minutes pass before the safe room door opens. Anthony enters alone, and the space immediately feels smaller. He doesn't speak, just stands with his back against the wall, arms crossed. They didn't find anyone, I say, not a question. Professional throw. Calculated trajectory to avoid cameras. They were gone before the glass hit the floor. His voice is flat. Declan wants me to know he's watching. That buying your debt didn't buy your safety. So what happens now? Anthony's dark eyes fix on mine with uncomfortable intensity. Now I make a choice. I can send you away. Different city, new identities, enough money to start over. You'd be free of me and free of Declan. 50-50 chance you survive 6 months before someone tracks you down. Or you stay here, closer than before. Under constant protection, until I eliminate the threat permanently. He pushes off the wall, closing the distance between us. Keeping you here makes you a target. Sending you away makes you prey. Either option could get you killed. But at least here, I control the variables. You're asking me to trust you with my life. My voice doesn't waver. I'm telling you that you already did. The moment you ran across that marina, his hand rises, and for a second I think he might touch my face. Instead, he points at the monitors. This is my world, Kayla. Violence and strategy and calculated risks. You saved me from becoming a casualty. Let me return the favor by keeping you from becoming one. I look at the screens. At the mansion that's become both sanctuary and prison. At the man whose protection is the only barrier between me and death. I stay, I say. Anthony nods once, something like satisfaction crossing his features. Good. Then we prepare for war. The dress hangs in my closet like an accusation. Deep burgundy silk that catches light and transforms it into liquid fire. I've been staring at it for 10 minutes, and it still doesn't feel real. Mr. Bellini requires your presence at the museum gala tonight. Marco delivered the message this morning with his usual economy of words. 7 o'clock. A stylist will arrive at 4 to assist with preparations. I didn't ask why. In the 2 weeks since the brick shattered our illusion of safety, I've learned that Anthony Bellini doesn't explain strategy to the pieces on his chessboard. He simply moves them. The stylist turns out to be a woman named Julia, small and severe, who takes one look at me and sighs like I've personally offended her. She spends 3 hours transforming me into someone I don't recognize. Hair swept into an elegant twist, makeup applied with precision that emphasizes cheekbones I didn't know I had, nails shaped and polished in neutral rows. When she finally allows me to put on the dress, I understand why she chose it. The color makes my hazel eyes look amber in certain light. The cut is deceptively simple, sleeveless with a high neckline, but it fits like it was sewn onto my body. The silk moves when I breathe, whispering against skin I've spent 23 years ignoring. The jewelry. Julia produces a velvet box containing delicate gold pieces, thin chain necklace with a small pendant, matching bracelet, subtle earrings. Nothing ostentatious. Everything perfectly calibrated to suggest wealth without screaming it. I look like I belong in Anthony Bellini's world. That's the point, I realize. Tonight I'm not Kayla Evans, former waitress. I'm whoever he needs me to be. The door to my room opens without knocking. Anthony enters, stops, and goes completely still. He's wearing black. Suit, shirt, tie, all in varying shades of darkness that make him look like he's carved from obsidian. His hair is styled back from his face, emphasizing the sharp architecture of his features. Those dark eyes sweep over me once, comprehensive and assessing before meeting my gaze. You'll do. 2 words, utterly devoid of inflection, but I catch the fractional tightening of his jaw, the way his hands flex once before he clasps them behind his back. For Anthony Bellini, that's equivalent to a gasp. What exactly am I doing? I turn from the mirror to face him directly. Attending a charity gala. The museum is hosting a fundraiser for arts education. Very public, very visible, very safe. He moves further into the room, and I'm suddenly aware of how intimate this space is. My bedroom, my territory. Except nothing here is actually mine. Declan O'Sullivan will be there. He sits on the museum's board of directors. Understanding crystallizes cold and sharp. You're using me as bait. I'm establishing that you're under my protection in a setting where violence would be inconvenient for everyone involved. He stops 3 feet away. Declan needs to see that threatening you means confronting me. Publicly. Where his reputation is as vulnerable as mine. There are 6 of my people on the floor, 4 more outside, and a response team within minutes, he adds, shifting fully into the cadence I have come to recognize as operational, not personal. I am not throwing you to him, Kayla. I am making sure that when he looks at you, he has to see me, and the cost of underestimating both of us. And if he doesn't care about reputation, then we'll have confirmation that he's abandoned rational strategy for revenge. Either way, I gain information. Anthony tilts his head slightly. You've been observing the security rotations. You've noticed the blind spots in the northeast corner of the property. You've watched Vincent train Ethan in defensive driving techniques. Don't pretend you haven't been preparing for exactly this kind of situation. He's right. I've been paying attention to everything, cataloging details the way I used to memorize table numbers and drink orders. Survival instinct repackaged as situational awareness. What do you need me to do? Be yourself. Watch. Listen. Tell me if you see anything unusual. His voice drops lower. You have good instincts, Kayla. You proved that at the marina. Trust them tonight. Before I can respond, he produces a small earpiece from his pocket. Communication device. Marco will be on the channel, as will 2 other security personnel positioned throughout the venue. If you feel unsafe, say the word sanctuary, and you'll be extracted immediately. I take the earpiece, fitting it into my ear. It's nearly invisible, warm from his hand. Ready? He asks. No, absolutely not. But I nod anyway. The museum is all marble columns and vaulted ceilings, transformed into a garden of lights and flowers for the evening. Hundreds of guests circulate through galleries temporarily cleared of art, replacing paintings with people wearing clothing that cost more than most cars. A string quartet plays something classical and forgettable. Waiters move like ghosts. offering champagne and hors d'oeuvres with practiced invisibility. I recognize that invisibility. I used to be one of them. Anthony's hand settles at the small of my back as we enter. Not possessive, but present, guiding me through introductions to people whose names I immediately forget. Museum directors, city officials, other men in expensive suits who shake Anthony's hand with careful respect. Their wives and dates assess me with varying degrees of curiosity and dismissal. Anthony, darling. A woman in emerald green intercepts us, air kissing near Anthony's cheeks without making contact. So glad you could make it. And who is this lovely creature? Kayla Evans. Kayla, this is Margaret Hartwell, the museum's primary benefactor. I shake her hand, matching her pressure exactly. Beautiful event, Mrs. Hartwell. Please call me Margaret. Any friend of Anthony's is always welcome. Her eyes catalog every detail of my appearance, pricing each element. That dress is stunning. Valentino? I'm not sure, I admit honestly. It was a gift. Margaret's smile sharpens with understanding. How generous. As she glides away, I catch Anthony's reflection in a nearby window. He's watching me with something approaching amusement. You're doing well, he murmurs. So quietly only I can hear. I haven't done anything. Exactly. You're not trying too hard. That's the secret to this world. Confidence and boredom in equal measure. We move deeper into the crowd. I accept champagne from a passing waiter more for something to hold than any desire to drink it. The bubbles tickle my nose, and I take a tiny sip, letting the cold liquid ground me in the moment. That's when I see him. Not Declan O'Sullivan, though I spot him later across the room, distinguished and silver-haired, holding court near a bronze sculpture. No, I see the waiter. Young, maybe 25, carrying a tray of champagne flutes. Nothing unusual about that. Except he's sweating despite the museum's climate control. Except his eyes never quite focus on any guest, always sliding away from direct contact. Except his trajectory through the crowd is deliberate, angling specifically toward where Anthony stands talking to a city councilman. I've worked enough service jobs to recognize the difference between a professional waiter and someone pretending. Professionals move efficiently, take the quickest path, make eye contact to anticipate needs. This man is doing none of those things. He's forcing himself through a script, and the effort shows in every stiff movement. My pulse kicks up. I touch Anthony's arm lightly, interrupting his conversation. Excuse me. I pitch my voice to carry polite apology. I need to borrow him for just a moment. Anthony's eyes flick to mine, reading the tension in my face. He excuses himself smoothly and allows me to guide him 2 steps away. The waiter with the champagne tray, coming from your left. Don't look directly at him. I keep my voice low, casual, like we're discussing the art on the walls. Describe him. Mid-20s, dark hair, white jacket, black tie, carrying 8 flutes moving toward you. He's nervous. Wrong kind of nervous. And he keeps checking his watch like he's on a schedule. Anthony's jaw tightens microscopically. Marco. Northwest corner. Waiter with champagne. Flag him. The response through the earpiece is immediate. Copy. The waiter is 10 feet away now. 8 feet. He's going to walk directly past us, offer the tray, and whatever is in those glasses will end up in Anthony's hand. I don't think. I just move. My heel catches on absolutely nothing, and I stumble forward with a small cry of surprise. My hand shoots out for balance, connecting with the waiter's elbow. The tray tilts. 8 champagne flutes tumble in slow motion, crystal shattering against marble in a cascade of glass and golden liquid. Oh God, I'm so sorry, I gasp, loud enough for nearby guests to turn and stare. I don't know what happened. The waiter's face goes white, then gray. His eyes dart to the exit, to Anthony. Back to the exit. Fight or flight wore across his features. He chooses flight. He drops the tray completely and bolts, pushing through startled guests. Marco materializes from the crowd, moving to intercept, but the waiter has a head start and desperation on his side. He crashes through a service door and disappears. Anthony's hand catches my waist, steadying me against him. His other hand rises to cup my elbow. the picture of concern for anyone watching. But his voice, low and private against my ear, carries something else entirely. Good eyes, Kayla. The words send electricity down my spine. Not praise exactly. Recognition. Acknowledgement that I saw something his trained security missed. That my instincts were correct. That I just prevented whatever poison or drug was in those glasses from reaching him. Are you all right? He doesn't move away. And neither do I. We're pressed together in a way that looks protective from the outside, but feels like something else entirely. Heat radiates from him through the thin silk of my dress. I'm fine. Just clumsy. My voice sounds breathless. You've never been clumsy a day in your life. His thumb traces small circles against my waist. Whether conscious or unconscious, I can't tell. Marco. Status? Lost him in the parking structure. Sweeping now. Vehicle descriptions being collected. Anthony's expression doesn't change, but I feel the tension coiling through his body. Secure the perimeter. I want to know who he is by midnight. Guests are beginning to lose interest in the disturbance. Conversations resuming at normal volume. A museum staff member appears with a dustpan, efficiently clearing the broken glass. We should leave. I say quietly. No. Anthony's hand slides from my waist to the small of my back, anchoring me. We stay exactly as long as planned. Leaving early shows fear. We don't give Declan that satisfaction. So we stay. We circulate through galleries, admiring paintings I don't see and sculpture I don't process. Anthony introduces me to more people whose names evaporate the moment they're spoken. But through it all, his hand never leaves the small of my back. That constant pressure, warm and possessive, tethering me to him. And across the room, Declan O'Sullivan watches us with eyes like chips of ice, his expression revealing nothing but his stillness, revealing everything. The message has been sent and received. I'm Anthony Bellini's now, in whatever capacity that means. And tonight, in a room full of witnesses, I proved I'm more than decorative protection. I'm an asset. The question is whether that makes me safer or just paints the target brighter. The bunker smells like filtered air and expensive electronics. 20 feet below the mansion's foundation, surrounded by reinforced concrete and steel, it feels less like a safe room and more like a war room. Banks of monitors display every angle of the property in high definition. 3 desks hold computers running surveillance software, communications equipment, and what looks like tactical planning maps of the city. Anthony strips off his suit jacket the moment the hydraulic door seals behind us, draping it over a chair with uncharacteristic carelessness. He loosens his tie, rolls his sleeves to his elbows, and I'm struck by how much more dangerous he looks when the polish comes off. The controlled violence beneath the expensive tailoring becomes visible in the tension of his shoulders, the precise movements of his hands as he activates systems and pulls up screens. Marco. Status. His voice echoes slightly in the confined space. The response through the speakers is immediate. Perimeter secure. Thermal imaging shows no hostiles within 500 yards. Drone surveillance active. The waiter's vehicle was abandoned 3 blocks from the museum. Stolen plates, wiped clean. We're running facial recognition, but he knew how to avoid the cameras. Keep me updated every 15 minutes. Anthony cuts the connection and turns to the center desk, where surveillance photos are spread in overlapping layers. Faces, locations, timestamps. A map of Declan O'Sullivan's known world. I'm still wearing the burgundy dress, the silk feeling absurd in this utilitarian space. I slip off the heels, the cold floor shocking against my bare feet. The physical discomfort helps me focus. You should sit. Anthony doesn't look up from the photos, but he gestures toward a leather chair designed for long shifts monitoring screens. I've been sitting for 3 hours at that gala, smiling at people who think I'm your latest acquisition. I move to the desk instead, standing across from him. Tell me what we're looking for. His eyes lift, dark and assessing. For a moment I think he'll dismiss me, send me to sit quietly while he works. Instead, he slides half the photos toward me. Declan's operation is cellular. He doesn't keep all his assets in one location. We've identified 3 properties he definitely uses: an apartment in Midtown, a restaurant in Queens that fronts his gambling operation, and a warehouse near the docks. Anthony taps each location on the city map. but none of them are secure enough for him to hide in during open conflict. He has another location, somewhere we haven't found. I pick up the photos one by one, studying faces and buildings. Men in various states of alertness, some clearly guards, others just associates. Streetscapes that could be anywhere in the 5 boroughs. And buildings, so many buildings. You've been surveilling him for weeks. Not a question. Months, since before you warned me about the yacht. Anthony's jaw tightens. I knew Declan was escalating towards something. I just didn't know what until your brother gave him the opportunity. These are all recent? I gesture at the surveillance photos. Last 2 weeks, since the brick through my window. He leans over the desk, bracing his weight on his palms. The overhead light throws shadows across his face, emphasizing the sharp angles. He's careful. Never goes to the same place twice in a row. Never follows a pattern. But he has to sleep somewhere. Eat somewhere. Plan somewhere. I spread the photos wider, looking for connections. My years waitressing taught me to recognize patterns in chaos, to track multiple tables and predict which customer would need their check before they asked. This is similar. Different scale, lethal consequences, but the same fundamental skill, observation. This one. I pull a photo from the stack. An old industrial building, red brick darkened by decades of grime. The windows are boarded, graffiti covers the lower walls, and a rusted chain-link fence surrounds the property. Where is this? Anthony glances at it. Red Hook. Old fish cannery. Been abandoned for 15 years. We checked it. Structurally unsound. First floor flooded from storm damage. Not viable as a base. I turn the photo, studying the details. The fence, the padlock securing the gate, and there, barely visible in the grainy image, a small detail that sends recognition shooting through my memory. The padlock is new. I point to it. Everything else is corroded, rusted, falling apart. But that padlock is maybe 6 months old. Heavy-duty commercial grade. Anthony moves around the desk, standing close enough that I can feel body heat radiating through his shirt. He takes the photo, examining it more carefully. Could be squatters securing their territory. But his voice carries doubt now. Could be. I meet his eyes. Or it could be someone who wants people to think the building is worthless while they use the parts that aren't flooded. The basement level would be below the water table. If the first floor is flooded, the basement isn't. The certainty in my voice surprises me. I know that building. Ethan used to hide there when he ditched school. He'd take the subway to Red Hook, break in through the fence, and spend hours in what he called the cave. I thought he meant some ground-level storage room. But if the first floor is flooded now, and he was going there 3 years ago, understanding flashes across Anthony's face. The basement is sealed. Concrete sump system, probably built when they were processing fish and needed refrigeration below grade. The flooding is on the main level, but the foundation stays dry. Ethan said nobody ever checked it because from outside it looks destroyed. Perfect place to hide if you want to be overlooked. Anthony sets the photo down carefully, his hands flattening against the desk. He's silent for a long moment, processing the information. When he looks at me, there's something different in his expression. Not gratitude, exactly. Respect. Urban intelligence. His voice is quiet. You know the city the way my security team never will. They see threats and assets. You see details. The kind that come from actually living here, scraping by, paying attention because your survival depended on it. I'm not doing anything special, just remembering. Memory is a weapon, Kayla. One of the most dangerous. He's closer now. Close enough that I have to tilt my head slightly to maintain eye contact. You've given me what 3 weeks of professional surveillance couldn't. A location worth investigating. It might be nothing. Just an old building where my brother used to smoke weed and avoid algebra. Or it's exactly where Declan thinks he's invisible. Anthony's hand rises, and this time he doesn't stop himself. His fingers brush my jaw, tilting my face toward the light. You're wasted serving tables. You're wasted organizing my house. That mind should be doing more. The touch sends electricity across my skin. I should step back. Maintain professional distance. Remember that I'm here because of debt and necessity, not choice. But I don't move. Neither does he. What are you doing? My voice comes out softer than intended, reconsidering several assumptions. His thumb traces along my cheekbone, feather-light. I thought keeping you close was about protection, making sure the O'Sullivans couldn't use you against me. But it's become something else. What? Partnership. The word hangs between us, loaded with implications. You see what I miss. I have resources you need. We complement each other's weaknesses. That's very tactical of you. I'm acutely aware of how close we're standing, of the warmth of his hand against my face, of the way his eyes have darkened from near black to something deeper. I'm always tactical, but his voice has lost its clinical edge. Except right now. Right now I'm about to do something completely impractical. He kisses me. It's not gentle, not tentative or exploratory. It's decisive and thorough, his mouth claiming mine with the same confidence he applies to everything else. One hand stays at my jaw, angling my face precisely where he wants it. The other slides to the small of my back, pulling me flush against him. The silk dress is a useless barrier between us, thin enough to feel every plane of muscle, every point of contact. I should hesitate. Question this. Maintain some kind of boundary between employer and employee, protector and protected, captor and captive. But those definitions dissolved sometime between the marina and the museum, between the broken window and the surveillance photos. I kiss him back. My hands find his chest, feeling his heart hammering beneath the expensive cotton. The texture of his shirt is smooth under my palms as I slide them up to his shoulders, anchoring myself against the intensity of the moment. He tastes like the whiskey he drank while studying the photos, dark and rich, with an underlying complexity I don't have words for. When we break apart, both breathing harder than tactical planning requires, his forehead rests against mine. The position is intimate in a way the kiss somehow wasn't. Vulnerable. That was impractical. I whisper. Extremely. His hand is still at my back, keeping me close. Also, inevitable. Is this another strategy? Keep me invested in your survival by making it personal? Do you think I'm that calculating? But there's no heat in the question. Just genuine curiosity. I pull back enough to see his face properly. I think you're exactly that calculating. It's what makes you dangerous. What I don't know is whether you're calculating with me, or if I'm the one variable you haven't figured out how to control. The corner of his mouth lifts. Not quite a smile, but close. You terrify me, Kayla Evans. You have from the moment you ran across that marina. Anyone crazy enough to throw themselves between me and death isn't controllable. You're chaos disguised as competence, and you're drawn to that, helplessly. He kisses me again, softer this time but no less intense. His hands frame my face like I'm something precious rather than problematic. When we separate, his voice is rough. Stay here tonight, in the bunker, until Marco confirms the property is secure and we've verified no immediate threats. There's only one bed. I gesture to the corner where a narrow military-style cot sits against the wall. I'm aware. I'm not asking you to share it. I'm asking you to be somewhere I know you're safe while I plan our next move. He steps back, creating space between us with visible effort. Declan escalated tonight. He tried to poison me in a room full of witnesses. That's desperation, not strategy. Which means he's more dangerous now than he was yesterday. The shift from intimate to tactical is jarring, but I understand the necessity. We're in the middle of something that could get us both killed. Personal feelings, whatever they are, have to wait until the immediate threat is neutralized. What happens tomorrow? I ask. Tomorrow we investigate the cannery. Carefully, with backup and contingency plans. He returns to the desk, pulling up building schematics on one of the computers. If Declan is using that location, we'll find evidence. And if we find evidence, we'll have a target. I watch him work, his focus absolute, and understand that this is who Anthony Bellini really is. Not the man in the expensive suits conducting business in marble offices. This. Strategy and violence and protection wrapped in ruthless efficiency. And somehow, impossibly, I've become part of his inner circle. Not as property or obligation, but as something more complex and considerably more dangerous. The question isn't whether I can survive in his world anymore. It's whether I want to leave it if given the choice. Red Hook at 3 in the morning is a study in abandonment. Warehouses hunker against the water like sleeping beasts, windows dark or shattered, loading docks empty of everything except rust and shadows. The air smells like brine and diesel fuel, sharp enough to sting my nostrils even through the filtered ventilation of the tactical van. I'm surrounded by screens, 6 monitors arranged in a semicircle, each displaying different camera feeds from the operation. Thermal imaging, night vision, standard spectrum, and drone footage from 200 feet above the cannery. Marco sits to my left, his hands moving across keyboards with practiced efficiency. Vincent is on my right, coordinating communications with the ground team through a headset. And I'm supposed to be their extra set of eyes. The spotter. The one who notices what trained professionals might miss because I'm not trained to ignore the unimportant details. Bravo team in position. Vincent's voice is barely above a murmur, but it carries weight. Alpha team holding at the southeast corner. Romeo 1 confirms visual on entrance. Romeo 1 is Ethan. My 20-year-old brother is sitting in an armored vehicle 50 yards from a building that might contain a dozen armed men, serving as the initial observation post. Anthony decided 3 days ago that Ethan's redemption required proving he could function under pressure without collapsing. So far, my brother's voice through the comms has been steady. He is not alone in there. 2 of Anthony's operators sit within arm's reach, and there is an extraction route mapped down to the minute. Anthony might be ruthless, but he does not waste assets, especially not ones I care about. I've got movement in the northeast window, 2nd floor. Looks like someone just passed by with a flashlight. Ethan's words are measured, careful. Confirming signs of occupation. Copy that, Romeo 1. Anthony's voice cuts through the channel, calm and absolute. Alpha team, advance to position 2. Weapons hold unless I give the word. I watch the thermal display as 4 figures move across the screen in perfect formation. Anthony leads, with Marco's second-in-command flanking him. 2 more specialists cover their advance, moving between cover points with military precision. They're ghosts in the darkness, visible only through the heat signatures blooming white against the blue-cold background. My job is to watch everything. Not just the team, but the environment, the building, the approaches, looking for patterns or anomalies that might indicate trap or ambush. Kayla. Marco's voice pulls my attention to the center screen. Thermal imaging on the main floor. Tell me what you see. I lean forward, studying the display. The flooded first floor shows as dark blue, cold water filling most of the space. But there are variations in temperature. Patches of slightly warmer water near support columns, and something else. A heat signature near the far wall, roughly man-sized but stationary. Could be a person holding position, I say slowly. Or could be residual heat from machinery. Hard to tell without movement. Good. Keep watching it. If it moves, I want to know immediately. The operation unfolds in careful increments. Alpha team reaches the exterior wall. Someone produces a fiber optic camera, feeding it through a crack in the boarded window. The feed appears on my screens, showing the interior of the cannery in grainy green night vision. Empty. Or apparently empty. Just water reflecting the camera light, support beams rising like ribs from the flood, and debris floating in gentle currents. Basement access should be on the western wall. Anthony's voice is barely audible, but the microphones pick it up. We're moving to the service entrance. I switch my focus to the drone feed, watching from above as the team circles the building. The service entrance is a metal door set into the foundation, accessible via a short concrete stairwell below ground level. It's dry, which confirms the basement level is above the water table despite the flooding on the main floor. Doors secured with a chain. Recent. One of Anthony's team members reports. Industrial grade. Someone's definitely using this. Cut it. Anthony's response is immediate. Quiet as possible. The sound of bolt cutters working metal comes through clearly despite attempts at stealth. Each cut seems impossibly loud in the pre-dawn silence. I find myself holding my breath, waiting for alarms or response from inside. Nothing. The chain falls away, and the team stacks up on either side of the door. Bravo team, you're our backup. Hold position and watch for runners. Anthony's hand appears in the drone feed, making a countdown gesture. 3 fingers. 2. 1. They breach fast and silent, disappearing into darkness. My screens switch to their helmet cameras, showing narrow concrete corridors lit intermittently by their tactical lights. For a heartbeat, my mind tries to drag me back to the marina. The rain, the salt, the taste of copper and panic in my mouth as I ran toward a bomb I barely understood. Now I am not running blindly into danger. I am seated in a van miles away, watching other people move through harm because I told them where to go. The basement is exactly as I imagined from Ethan's descriptions. Low ceilings, industrial pipes running overhead, rooms branching off the main passage, and signs of recent occupation everywhere. A camping stove, sleeping bags, empty food containers. This isn't a squat. It's a planned hiding place maintained for extended use. Clear left. Clear right. Main corridor clear, advancing to secondary junction. The voices overlap, calm and professional. I watch 3 different camera angles simultaneously, trying to build a mental map of the layout. The team moves like water, flowing around obstacles, covering angles with practiced efficiency. That's when I notice the thermal anomaly. On the overhead view, the building's heat map shows the team as bright white signatures moving through blue cold corridors. But there's something else. 2 smaller signatures in the ventilation system running along the ceiling, moving parallel to the team's advance but slightly ahead. Wait. My voice cuts across the channel, sharper than intended. Anthony, stop! The team freezes instantly. Total discipline. Total trust that my warning has merit. What do you have? His voice carries no doubt, only readiness. I zoom the thermal display, tracking the signatures in the ductwork. They're definitely human-sized, definitely moving with purpose toward a junction point ahead of where the team stopped. Thermal imaging shows 2 hostiles in the ventilation ducts. Eastern passage, approximately 15 feet ahead of your current position. I keep my voice steady, clinical, mimicking Marco's earlier tone. They're moving to flank you. Looks like they're heading for the junction where the main corridor splits. Ventilation access points? Anthony directs the question to his team. Multiple ceiling grates. Standard commercial size. Someone confirms. I watch the signatures creeping forward. They're going to drop down behind the team, or attack from above when they reach the junction. Classic ambush positioning. They're almost in position. I can hear my heartbeat in my ears. 20 seconds until they reach the intercept point. Copy. Anthony's response is glacier calm. Alpha 2 and 3, suppressed weapons on the ceiling. Wait for my mark. Alpha 4, watch our 6. Nobody moves until I give the word. The team shifts formation. 2 operators aim upward at specific grate positions. The others create a defensive perimeter. Through the helmet cameras, I watch them wait, utterly still, while the thermal signatures above them creep into position. 5 seconds. I count down. 3, 2. They're directly above you. Now. The suppressed weapons fire with soft coughs rather than bangs. The ceiling grates shatter. 2 bodies drop from the ductwork, hitting the concrete with impacts that sound like wet meat hitting stone. The team is on them instantly, weapons trained, lights illuminating 2 men in dark clothing who aren't moving anymore. Targets neutralized. Anthony's voice carries no emotion. Check them. ID, weapons, communications. I exhale for the first time in what feels like minutes. Marco glances at me, something approving in his expression. Good catch. Most spotters would have dismissed that thermal reading as rats or building artifacts. I've seen enough rats to know how they move. My hands are shaking now that the immediate threat has passed. Those were too large, too purposeful. On screen, the team continues their sweep. They find the command center in what was probably the cannery's main refrigeration room. Computers, communications equipment, maps marked with locations throughout the city. This was Declan's planning headquarters, his sanctuary, the place he thought invisible. Jackpot. Anthony's voice carries grim satisfaction. Kayla, your brother's intel was accurate. Remind me to buy him something expensive. Just get him through this alive. I'm watching the screens, but I'm thinking about Ethan in that vehicle, proving his worth, trying to earn back trust he shattered with stupid choices. Romeo 1, you're clear to extract. Good work tonight. Anthony pauses. All teams, we're retrieving everything we can carry. I want this location stripped in 10 minutes. Bravo team, bring the van to the service entrance. The operation shifts to evidence collection. Hard drives, documents, phones, anything that might contain intelligence on Declan's operations or associates. The team moves efficiently, loading equipment into cases and hauling it up the stairs. I watch the perimeter feeds, alert for any response. But Red Hook stays dark and silent. Either Declan's people weren't expecting an attack, or they've already fled. Either way, Anthony's gamble paid off. Package secure. We're moving out. Anthony reappears in the drone feed, the last one out of the basement. He pauses at the door, looking back at the building that almost served as his tomb. Then he's moving again, climbing into the tactical vehicle that will bring him back to the command van. Back to me. When the van door opens 10 minutes later, Anthony enters still wearing tactical gear, a vest over his black shirt, holster visible at his hip. His face is smudged with dust, his hair disrupted from the helmet. He's never looked more dangerous or more alive. His eyes find mine across the equipment. Your information. Your observation. We couldn't have done this without you. I just watch screens. But the protest sounds weak even to me. You saw what we missed. That's worth more than 6 more guns. He moves to the monitor bank, studying the replayed footage of the thermal detection. Those men in the ducts would have killed at least 2 of my people before we neutralized them. You saved lives tonight, Kayla. The weight of it settles over me. Not just abstract strategy anymore. Actual lives. People who go home to families because I noticed a thermal signature and trusted my instinct. Vincent claps me on the shoulder once. Welcome to the team, spotter. Marco nods agreement. Even the tactical operators file past, offering quiet acknowledgements. I've earned something tonight. Not just Anthony's trust, but theirs. As the van pulls away from Red Hook, heading back to the mansion through empty pre-dawn streets, Anthony sits beside me. Our shoulders touch in the confined space. His hand finds mine in the darkness between seats, squeezing once. The message is clear. We work. Together. As partners. The factory interior unfolds across 6 monitor screens, each angle revealing layers of rusted machinery and shadows that move with purpose. Anthony's team swept through the building 30 minutes ago in coordinated silence, neutralizing resistance with efficiency that would be beautiful if it weren't so lethal. 4 guards down, restrained with zip ties in the loading bay. 2 more unconscious in the eastern corridor. Declan O'Sullivan's protection dismantled piece by piece until only 1 room remains occupied. The main office. 2nd floor, overlooking what used to be the processing floor. Steel-framed windows that haven't been cleaned in decades. A desk that's somehow both decrepit and functional, covered in papers and technology that doesn't belong in this monument to industrial decay. And Declan O'Sullivan himself, trapped like the predator he is, suddenly realizing he's become prey. Alpha 1 entering final room. Anthony's voice through my headset is steady, clinical. The helmet camera feed shows his gloved hand pushing open the office door, weapon raised in a 2-handed grip that speaks of training far beyond what most civilians ever see. Declan stands behind the desk, hands visible but tense. He's older than his surveillance photos suggested. Silver hair disheveled, expensive shirt torn at the shoulder. Blood stains his left sleeve, though whether from injury or transfer from one of his fallen guards, I can't determine from this angle. Bellini, Declan's voice carries through the audio feed, rough with pain or rage or both. Took you long enough to find me. You made it interesting. Anthony doesn't lower his weapon. The camera view stays locked on Declan's center mass, professional and unwavering. But you were sloppy at the end. Desperate people make mistakes. I watch 3 monitors simultaneously. The main feed from Anthony's helmet, the tactical view from Marco, who's covering the door from the corridor, and the thermal imaging that shows the 2 of them as bright signatures against the cold building, alone in that room while the rest of the team secures the perimeter. Desperate. Declan laughs, sharp and bitter. I'm not the one who started a war over a waitress and her idiot brother. The words land like calculated strikes. I feel Marco glance at me in the van's close quarters, gauging my reaction. I keep my expression neutral, eyes on the screens, even as something cold and angry coils in my chest. You started this war when you put a bomb on my yacht. Anthony's voice doesn't change temperature. Everything after was just consequences finding their natural conclusion. Because of her. Declan emphasizes each word, leaning forward despite the weapon pointed at him. Because some blonde nobody stumbled into your life and turned you soft. The Anthony Bellini I knew 10 years ago would have killed them both the moment they became inconvenient. But now you're playing house with civilians, pretending domesticity doesn't make you weak. The camera doesn't waver. Anthony's breathing stays controlled, measured. But I catch the fractional tightening of his finger near the trigger guard, a tell so small most people would miss it. I don't miss it. You're projecting. Anthony takes one step forward, closing distance by calculated inches. You lost control of your territory, lost respect from your own people, lost the discipline that kept you alive this long. And now, you're trying to justify your failures by blaming my choices. Convenient psychology, Declan. Also incorrect. You think she makes you stronger. Declan's hands shift slightly, one dropping toward his hip in a gesture that might be unconscious adjustment, or might be something else. She's a liability, a target. Every enemy you have will use her against you, and you'll die protecting someone who isn't worth the cost. Through the monitor, I watch Anthony's posture settle into something colder, more final. When he speaks, his voice drops to a register I've only heard once before, in that office 30 floors above the city when he declared war on Declan's operations. You're right about one thing. She is worth dying for. But you'll never understand why. Because men like you don't comprehend loyalty that isn't purchased or coerced. You can't imagine someone choosing to stand beside you instead of behind you. The helmet camera captures Declan's expression, shifting, fear beginning to erode bravado. His weight transfers backward, shoulders hunching in preparation for flight or surrender. We're done here. Anthony's weapon stays trained on center mass. Turn around, hands behind your head. Marco's going to restrain you, and then we're going to have a very long conversation about your operations, your associates, and exactly how we dismantle what's left of your organization. Declan's hands rise slowly, palms visible. His face cycles through calculations, searching for any remaining option. He turns gradually, presenting his back to Anthony, fingers interlacing behind his skull in the universal gesture of surrender. Every instinct I've developed over 3 weeks of watching operations and learning tactical patterns screams wrong. The surrender is too smooth, too practiced. Declan's breathing changes, shallow and quick, like someone preparing for explosive movement, and his right knee bends slightly, weight shifting to his left leg in a way that has nothing to do with casual balance. Anthony. I lean forward, hand covering the microphone to prevent feedback. Watch his legs. Something's wrong with how he's standing. On screen, Anthony's weapon doesn't move, but his head tilts fractionally. Acknowledgement without words. Marco appears in the doorway, moving to approach Declan's exposed back. The tactical protocol is clean. One person maintains weapon control, while another performs the restraint. Standard practice, safe practice. Except Declan's right hand twitches. The movement is minute, barely perceptible, but it's there. A conscious abort of larger motion, like someone reconsidering their next move. And his ankle flexes in a way that emphasizes something solid pressing against the inside of his pant leg. I've served enough cops and security personnel to recognize an ankle holster. Weapon on his right ankle. My voice cuts through the channel, sharp and urgent. Inside right leg, ankle holster. Time fractures into slow motion. Declan's hand abandons the surrender position, dropping toward his leg. His body pivots, twisting to bring the concealed weapon into firing position. A small revolver emerges from his pant leg, silver steel catching the dim light. Anthony's response is instantaneous. Not reactive, proactive, like he was waiting for exactly this betrayal. I saw it. His voice is utterly calm as he fires twice in rapid succession. The suppressed weapon makes sounds like sharp exhalations. Both rounds hit Declan in the shoulder and upper chest, the impacts spinning him sideways. The revolver flies from nerveless fingers, clattering across the concrete floor. Declan collapses, breath wheezing, hands clutching at wounds that pump blood between his fingers. Marco is on him before he finishes falling, kicking the revolver away, pressing Declan face down against the floor. The older man gasps, struggling weakly, but the fight has left him along with dangerous amounts of blood. Medical. Marco's voice is efficient, emotionless. Gunshot trauma. Upper right quadrant. Subject is contained but needs immediate stabilization if we're keeping him alive. Anthony lowers his weapon slowly, deliberately. The helmet camera shows him staring down at Declan's prone form with an expression I can't fully read. Not satisfaction, not regret. Something colder and more complex. Secure him. Anthony turns away, holstering his weapon in one fluid motion. Vincent. Status on perimeter? Clear. No additional hostiles detected. Building is ours. Vincent's response crackles through the channel. Then we're done here. Anthony moves toward the door, pausing to look back at Declan one final time. Get him stable enough for transport. He's going to tell us everything he knows, and then he's going to disappear into a hole so deep his own mother wouldn't find him. The helmet camera cuts off as Anthony removes the gear. The remaining feeds show the team moving efficiently through post-operation protocols. Evidence collection, site sanitization, casualty management. Declan is strapped to a stretcher, still conscious but fading, while a medic works to keep him from bleeding out. They stabilize him just enough to keep him conscious, not comfortable. An improvised interrogation room takes shape around the stretcher. Medical kit balanced on a crate, plastic sheeting dragged under the metal frame. Marco's voice a low metronome of questions as he presses for names, accounts, safe houses. Declan holds out longer than I expect, and less than he probably promised himself he would. In the end, it's not mercy or a clean arrest that waits for him. Just blood loss, and the math of bad choices finally coming due on that concrete floor. 15 minutes pass before the van door opens. Anthony climbs inside, and the confined space feels smaller with his presence. He's shed the tactical vest, but blood spatters his shirt and forearms. Not his blood. Never his. He's holding a white cloth, methodically wiping red stains from his hands with movements that are almost meditative. Our eyes meet across 3 feet of equipment and distance that feels simultaneously vast and non-existent. You saw the ankle holster. His voice carries no question, just statement. I saw how he was standing, the way his weight shifted wrong for a real surrender. I don't look away from the blood on his hands, the evidence of violence he committed without hesitation. I thought you needed warning. I had already clocked the weapon before we entered the room. Thermal imaging showed a heat signature inconsistent with body temperature on his ankle. Anthony finishes cleaning his right hand, moving to the left with the same careful attention. But when you confirmed what I suspected, it gave me certainty. No second guessing. No hesitation that could have cost Marco his life. So you didn't need me. The words come out flatter than intended. Anthony sets down the cloth, his hands clean now, and closes the distance between us. In the van's cramped interior, that means he's close enough that I can smell gunpowder residue beneath his cologne, can see the gold flecks in his dark eyes that I never noticed before. I've never needed anyone. Need implies weakness, dependency, vulnerability. His hand rises, fingertips tracing the line of my jaw. But partnership isn't about need. It's about multiplication. You double my effectiveness. I double yours. Together we see angles neither of us would catch alone. That's very rational. My pulse kicks up despite the clinical language. I'm always rational, but his thumb brushes across my lower lip, and there's nothing rational about the heat in his gaze. Except when it comes to you. You make me reconsider strategies I've used for 15 years. You make me question whether survival is sufficient, or if there's something beyond it worth building. Outside, the team is loading equipment, closing down the operation. Inside this small space, we're suspended in a moment that feels separate from the violence and strategy and blood that defines Anthony's world. Declan was right about one thing. I forced the words out, needing to address the elephant crushing the air between us. I am a liability. A vulnerability you didn't have before I ran across that marina. Yes, he doesn't deny it. Doesn't soften the truth. You're the weapon my enemies will try to use against me. The pressure point they'll exploit. Every tactical assessment says I should eliminate the vulnerability, send you so far away that leverage becomes impossible. My stomach drops. Are you? No. The word is absolute. because they're operating on incomplete information. They see vulnerability. I see asset. They see weakness. I see the person who identified a bomb, organized my household, spotted thermal signatures my professionals missed, and just saved one of my best operators' lives by trusting her instincts. His forehead rests against mine, the gesture intimate in a way that transcends the physical. We're partners now, Kayla Evans, in strategy and protection and whatever else this becomes. Declan is neutralized. His organization will collapse within days. And when the dust settles, you and I are going to decide what we're building in the space where threats used to be. I should question this. Demand clarity about exactly what partnership means in Anthony Bellini's world. But his lips find mine, and the kiss tastes like promises written in blood and certainty forged in fire. And I realize I already made my choice weeks ago. Everything after is just learning to live with the consequences. The Mediterranean sun turns the water into hammered gold, each wave crest catching light and throwing it back toward a sky so blue it almost hurts to look at directly. The Sovereign cuts through the sea with the quiet confidence of engineering perfection. Its engines a distant purr beneath the deck where I stand, documents spread across the teak table in front of me. 1 year. 12 months since Declan O'Sullivan bled out in that factory office. His organization dismantled piece by piece until nothing remained except cautionary tales whispered in rooms where men make dangerous decisions. 12 months since I stopped being Kayla Evans, waitress and survivor, and became something else entirely. Partner. Strategist. The woman who stands beside Anthony Bellini instead of behind him. My phone vibrates against the table, Ethan's name flashing across the screen. I pick it up, scanning his message with practiced efficiency. Got my midterm grades back. 2 A's and a B+. Professor Reeves says I should consider graduate programs. Can you believe that? Me, in grad school. Also, I'm seeing someone. Her name's Claire. She's in my algorithms class. I think you'd like her. Miss you. Don't let Anthony work you too hard. I type back quickly. Proud of you. Send pictures of Claire. And Anthony knows better than to overwork me. I run his schedule now, remember? The truth of that sits comfortable in my chest. The Bellini Foundation operates out of offices in Manhattan and Rome, funding educational programs and small business grants throughout immigrant communities. Legitimate enterprise built on the bones of less legitimate operations. My job title is Director of Operations, which is corporate speak for the person who makes sure Anthony's vision translates into functional reality. I'm good at it. Better than I ever was at carrying plates or organizing pantries. Turns out the skills required to manage a household in chaos transfer remarkably well to running a multi-million-dollar charitable foundation. The documents in front of me detail next quarter's grant applications. 73 requests, each one representing someone trying to climb out of circumstances that once would have buried them. I've already narrowed the list to 25 finalists, cross-referenced against need and viability, and potential for sustainable impact. Anthony will approve whichever ones I recommend. Not because he's delegating blindly, but because over the past year, he's learned that my judgment in this arena exceeds his own. I understand struggle in ways his privileged upbringing never taught him. I see potential where he sees risk. We balance each other. Always have, from that first night in the rain. Footsteps on the stairs pull my attention from the applications. Anthony emerges onto the deck, barefoot and casual in ways I never imagined possible when I first saw him in that impeccable charcoal suit. Linen pants and a white shirt unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled to his elbows. His hair is slightly disheveled from the wind, and there's color in his face from days spent away from office fluorescence. He looks younger than 33. Looks happy, if I'm honest, though he'd probably object to the word. Working. He states it without question, moving to stand behind my chair. His hands settle on my shoulders, thumbs pressing into muscles tight from hours hunched over paperwork. You're supposed to be on vacation. This is vacation. I'm reviewing grants on a yacht in the Mediterranean instead of in a Manhattan office. I lean back into his touch, feeling tension dissolve under expert pressure. Besides, you were on a conference call until 20 minutes ago. Neither of us knows how to stop working. True. His hands move from my shoulders to my arms, sliding down to encircle my waist. He pulls me back against his chest, chin resting on top of my head. But I'm trying to learn. For you. The vulnerability in those two words still catches me off guard sometimes. Anthony Bellini doesn't do vulnerability as a general rule. But with me, in private moments like this, he lets the armor drop enough that I glimpse the man beneath the careful construction. Ethan got his grades. I tilt my head back to look up at him. 2 A's and a B+. He's thinking about graduate school. Something soft crosses Anthony's expression. Pride, maybe. Or satisfaction at an investment paying unexpected dividends. He's come far. From installing bombs under duress to legitimate academic achievement in 12 months. That's not nothing. You gave him a second chance when most people wouldn't have. My hand covers his where it rests against my stomach. That's not nothing either. I gave him opportunity. He did the work. Anthony's breath stirs my hair. Same way I gave you protection and you turned it into partnership. Neither of you needed saving. You needed space to become who you were always capable of being. The words land heavy and true. A year ago I would have argued, insisted that without his intervention I'd be dead in a gutter somewhere. But time and distance from immediate danger have given me perspective. Anthony opened doors, but I walked through them. He provided resources, but I determined how to deploy them. We built this together. The foundation, the legitimate operations, the life that looks nothing like what either of us expected. Speaking of protection, Anthony's voice shifts, taking on the edge that means he's thinking tactically. Marco confirmed this morning that the last of O'Sullivan's former associates accepted the buyout. The territory is stable. No outstanding threats, no loose ends. We're clear. Clear. The word represents months of careful negotiation, strategic intimidation, and calculated generosity. Declan's organization didn't disappear overnight. It fragmented, with pieces scattered across the city, each one needing to be addressed individually. Some were absorbed into Bellini operations. Others were bought out and retired. A few disappeared in ways I don't ask about because some answers aren't meant for daylight. But the result is the same. The threat is neutralized. The war is over. So we're safe. I let the statement hang between us, testing its weight. As safe as anyone in our position ever is. Anthony's arms tighten fractionally. There will always be new threats, new challenges, but nothing like Declan, nothing personal, just business, which is manageable. I turn in his embrace, needing to see his face. The sun highlights gold in his dark eyes, warm instead of cold. The man who stares back at me isn't the same one who stood on a marina dock a year ago, calculating threats with inhuman precision. He's softer now. Not weak, never weak, but accessible in ways he wasn't before. Do you regret it? The question emerges before I can stop it. Letting me complicate your life. Taking on responsibility for me and Ethan. Building something legitimate instead of staying in the shadows. Anthony's hand rises to cut my face, thumb tracing my cheekbone. I regret nothing. You forced me to evolve beyond simple survival. To consider legacy and meaning instead of just power and control. His mouth curves slightly. Also, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Though I'll deny saying that if you tell anyone. Your secret's safe. But I'm grinning now. Unable to maintain composure against his rare admission. He kisses me then, slow and thorough. Tasting like espresso and the peppermint he keeps in his pocket. When we break apart, both breathing heavier than the temperature requires, his expression has shifted to something I recognize. Determination. Purpose. I keep thinking about that night. The storm. You running across the dock barefoot, warning me about the bomb. His hands frame my face, holding me in place. I almost died on this yacht. Would have, if not for you. Almost. I emphasize the word. But you didn't. We didn't. No, we survived. And then we did more than survive. He releases my face, reaching into his pocket, which brings me to something I've been planning for approximately 6 months and 3 days. The velvet box is small, deep blue, expensive in the way that doesn't announce itself. He opens it with hands that don't shake, revealing a ring that stops my breath in my chest. Not a diamond. Sapphire, dark blue like the Mediterranean water surrounding us, set in platinum with smaller stones flanking the center gem. It's elegant and understated and absolutely perfect. Kayla Evans. Anthony's voice carries the same calm authority he uses for tactical planning, like proposing marriage is just another operation requiring precision execution. I'm not going to perform some elaborate romantic gesture. We're past that. You know who I am. You know what my world requires. You've proven you cannot just survive in it, but thrive. He pauses. And for the first time since I've known him, Anthony Bellini looks uncertain, vulnerable. I'm asking you to make it permanent. Legal partnership in addition to practical partnership. Build something that outlasts both of us. Be my wife, my ally, my equal in everything we create going forward. The ring catches sunlight, throwing prismatic colors across the deck. I should consider this carefully. Weigh implications and consequences. Think about what marrying into the Bellini family means legally and strategically and practically. But I don't need time. I've been making this decision for 12 months, one day at a time, one choice at a time. Every morning I woke up in his house. Every strategy session, where our minds synchronized. Every moment of danger navigated together. Yes, the word comes out steady, certain. Absolutely yes. Relief transforms his expression, followed by something fiercer. He slides the ring onto my finger with practiced smoothness, like he's rehearsed the motion. It fits perfectly because of course it does. Anthony Bellini doesn't execute plans without accounting for every variable. This isn't payment for saving my life. His thumb traces the ring on my hand. It's not obligation or strategy or convenience. It's recognition that I function better with you than without you. That what we've built together is worth protecting, worth formalizing, worth betting my future on. I know. And I do. After a year of watching Anthony operate, I understand how he thinks. This proposal isn't romantic impulse. It's calculated decision backed by evidence and experience and genuine feeling. He probably doesn't have vocabulary for beyond tactical terminology. That's okay. I speak his language now. He kisses me again, and the Mediterranean sun warms my back while the ring warms my hand. And somewhere in the distance, the Sovereign's engines hum their approval. We stay on the deck until evening, planning logistics with the same focus we apply to foundation operations. Small wedding, immediate family only. Ethan will stand up with me. Marco will stand up with Anthony. Nothing extravagant, nothing public. Just legal recognition of what already exists. As the sun sets and stars begin emerging in the darkening sky, I lean against the railing, watching light dance across water. Anthony joins me, his arm around my waist, both of us silent. You realize this is the same yacht where it all started. I break the quiet finally. The Sovereign, scene of the almost crime that brought us together. I'm aware. His voice carries dry amusement. Why do you think I insisted on bringing you here? Full circle. From the place I almost died to the place where we start building what comes after. It's perfectly Anthony. Tactical and symbolic and deeply meaningful beneath layers of practical reasoning. Think you almost lost just the boat that night? I ask, echoing the conversation I know we need to have. No. His arm tightens. I almost lost considerably more than that. I almost lost the possibility of this. Of you. Of everything that's followed. The admission hangs in the air. Genuine and rare. Anthony doesn't traffic in sentimentality, which makes the moments when emotion breaks through all the more valuable. Good thing I'm terrible at minding my own business. I turn in his arms, facing him fully. Good thing I ran across that marina. Good thing I chose to warn you instead of walking away. Good thing you have terrible survival instincts that somehow keep you alive. He's smiling now. Really smiling. And it transforms his entire face. Good thing I'm possessive enough to keep you anyway. We kiss as the sun finishes setting. And somewhere below deck, the crew prepares dinner. And in New York, Ethan texts his new girlfriend about his family. And in Rome, the foundation staff processes applications that will change lives. The war is over. The threats are managed. The future stretches ahead like the Mediterranean itself, vast and possibility-filled and ours to navigate together. I'm not Kayla Evans anymore, waitress and survivor. I'm becoming Kayla Bellini, partner, strategist, wife. The woman who saved a mafia boss and ended up saving herself in the process. The end.